Ladies and gentlemen, before I go on with the finding from this research, I would like to acknowledge those who were involved in this study. I think one of them is Professor Osman Leba. He's sitting right behind me, and he will also be talking about quite a similar research for the teachers' assessment literacy in school. And another person who I felt very sorry. She is now fighting her life for cancer. Yeah? She is in the hospital currently, and Cik Hashimah has also helped Lembaga Peperiksaan in conducting this research. And also acknowledgement to the British Council, who has generously contributed 25,000 ringgit to carry out this research. So the topic of our discussion today, or our findings today, is a study on English teachers' assessment practices on the school-based assessment for English language in Malaysia. Let us recap. Since last night, we have been talking about theories, model, the promise of school-based assessment. And last night, in her speech, our Pengarah has mentioned that the role of psychometric assessment on the sustainability for human capital development. And Dr. Akbaria has also touched on the multiple intelligence and how we can assess our student holistically. But working in Lembaga Peperiksaan, it is an uphill task for me and my team to develop such an instrument. And in the morning, we also had a talk on the testing of higher order and generic problem solving and critical reasoning skill. From the lecture this morning, I feel that it is also very challenging to develop high order thinking skills. Then we have our ever willing to help the Malaysian Education Ministry, Professor Jim Tok Nolini, who has been with us since 2006. That was in Malacca. We call about 200 teachers from the whole country and asked him to teach us to develop performance-based standard. And finally, from Dr. Haniza Yon, as you can see, assessment is not an easy subject. It is interrelated with the curriculum, the people in school, the people in Lembaga Peperiksaan, and also other stakeholders outside. So why has school-based assessment being implemented in school? Actually, it is not something novel or new in our system. School-based assessment has been implemented when I took my MCE in 1979, when I did 3 science experiments for biology, physics, and also chemistry. However, the effect of standardized testing and a lot of research has been done, as you can see. Dittel, Herman, Lin, thank you, Jones, Horn, Darling-Hammond, Gulick, Malin, and also myself, has found out that standardized testing has a great effect on teaching and learning in the classroom. The narrowing of curriculum, model answers, model questions, scoring criteria, and as a result, students were not being able to use their higher order thinking skills. And based on that, performance standards, which is implemented in school-based assessment, is being introduced. It has already been 3 years for the primary school and 2 years for the secondary school. Now, if you look at the band, the higher the band are, the bigger the number the band is, the more demanding for the students to master the curriculum standard. And the more demanding it is for the teachers to teach and plan their lesson at the same time, they also have to assess the students. So this school-based assessment, being a researcher at Lembaga Peperiksaan, every day I would receive complaints. So these are some of the complaints that I have written down in my notebook. Number one, teacher has to administer assessment tasks on a daily or consistent basis. Number two, teacher also need to use evidence criteria to analyze and interpret the evidence from student data. 3, provide feedback to students on their performance that is not based on marks but rather conceptual understanding, which is a very complex situation. Number 4, administer formal checks at the end of every lesson. 5, implement targeted, specific and appropriate next step strategies. And finally, analyze and interpret student work as well as patterns in the data. The sound is also worrisome. Yeah, it is a daunting task. Tugas yang sangat, saya rasa sudah tak ada Mak Saleh di sini ya. Saya boleh selitkan sedikit bahasa Melayu supaya maksud itu tercapai. Ya, tugas ini saya rasa sangat berat. Sebab before I was in Lembaga Peperiksaan, I was teaching in Gombak Setia, and every year I would get the last class. The last class for Form 5 is 5A11. Can you imagine? And most of the students came from broken homes, and they have a lot of problem. And realistically, if I were to implement school-based assessment in school, my thought is, would I be able to do it? Yeah. So let's go on. And in the literature review, formative assessment has many promises. It says it will improve learning because of the effective teaching. And at the same time, when you are doing school-based assessment and introducing formative assessment, you can have the opportunity as a teacher to give feedback on the product. Product can be a written essay, it can be an experiment in the lab, or talking in public, or conducting an experiment in the lab, writing a research report. And as the students are doing the product, we can also give them feedback on the progress. At the same time, feedback can also be given to the process. That is why school-based assessment has been introduced. However, there are people out there who doesn't believe in formative assessment. They said there is no formative assessment, there is only formative learning or teaching. So the study, based on that, Lembaga Peperiksaan conducted a study on how effective English teacher implement formative assessment in school. Okay, any achievement, if you are doing a research, there are so many factors that contribute to achievement. It can be parents, leadership, teacher, governance, culture, socio-economy, and also environment. Literature review has also shown that successful parents will produce successful children. Good leadership can inspire or aspire teachers and the staff in school to work towards a positive achievement. Effective teachers can also result in effective learning. Good governance can establish a good education system. Culture that value knowledge, like the Finland, will also produce good students. Family with a strong socio-economic background will also produce good children. And finally, a positive learning environment can also have an effect on achievement. Now, in a study, if you were to run a study on correlation, analysis of variance, and you want to look at the regression regression is a study to look which factor contributes the most to an achievement. Yeah? However, my study did not concentrate on all the factors. What I did is to concentrate on teachers, because I feel that teacher is the agent of change in the classroom. Now every day when I go for lunch, I would drop by at the library. It is on the second floor. It is quite hideous. Nobody noticed the library, but I like to go in there, and sometimes I do stumble upon this book. It is called The Teaching Gap, and it is written by Stigler and Hebert. This book discusses on the way teachers teach in Japan, German, and also the United States. And it has found out that positive feedback, formative assessment does contribute to a very high achievement of the students. And I like what they write in the preface of the book. It says that teaching is the passageway through which all education reforms must travel if they are to make it through the classroom door and ultimately improve students' learning. I went to Kinokuniya. The book cost 55 ringgit if you wish to buy it. Yeah? So, if we do not still believe that school-based assessment can improve learning, this is a study conducted by Professor John Haiti. Professor John Haiti is working with New Zealand Qualification Authority, and he is also one of the consultants for Lembaga Periksaan when we were first developing the performance-based standard. Now, he has done some meta-analysis of hundreds of studies, and what he postulates is he studied the effect size on intervention, program-program yang boleh menyumbangkan kepada peningkatan pencapaian. Yeah? So, what he did was the average of a post-test score minus the average of the pre-test score divided by the average of standard deviation, and he got the index, what he called the effect size. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see what is the most effective intervention, intervensi mana yang paling berkesan? If we look at it, children would learn better if they know or they want to have a high expectation. Number 2, providing formative evaluation to teachers. Yeah? Number 3, classroom discussion. 4, how to provide better feedback. 5th, teacher-students relationship. How to better teach metacognitive strategies. Metacognitive strategies is thinking about thinking. You are teaching the students to evaluate on themselves and teaching study skills. Now, all of this intervention, which is in dark blue in color, they have the greatest impact on learning. And if you can see, the lowest impact on learning is retention. Kalau kita tahan budak, ya, kita hukum budak, pelajar-pelajar kita tidak akan berjaya. Now you can get this information if you go and Google search on YouTube, John Haiti, Hattie, and he will talk about effect size. Because New Zealand has already started on school-based assessment since 1996, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So in order to do a research, we need a model. So the model that I use after I Google is the assessment literacy instrument, and it is also from the recommendation of Professor Osman Lebar. Now, in this model, they define assessment as the process of obtaining information that is used to make educational decisions about students, to give feedback to students about his or her progress, strengths and weaknesses, to judge instructional effectiveness and curricula, and to inform policy. Now, this is the definition from the Educational Assessment of Student, American Federation of Teachers, the National Council on Measurement in Education, and the National Education Association. And I also match that with our Malaysia English Teachers Standard. So this is the 7 standard that teacher needs to master. Ya, kita bukan hanya ada standard prestasi untuk murid, kita juga sepatutnya ada standard prestasi untuk guru supaya mereka ini boleh menjalankan pentaksiran dalam bilik darjah. Ya, the first standard is choosing assessment method. Standard 2, developing assessment method. 3, administering, scoring and interpreting. 4, using assessment result. 5, developing valid grading procedure. 6, communicating assessment result. And last but not least is the ethical, recognizing unethical and inappropriate assessment methods. Now, don't you think this is quite difficult for teachers to do school-based assessment in school? Yeah, from what I have experienced and heard. So, based on that 7 standard, Craig A. Mutler developed an objective test to test on all the 7 standard. Now, for standard 1, choosing assessment method. Thank you. Choosing assessment methods appropriate for instructional decision is for item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have 5 items on that. For standard 2, we have items 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. For standard 3, we have item 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. For standard 4, we have items 16, 17, 18, and 19. And I retrieved this instrument from Professor Osman Leba. Then I check again the Google search. It is also in the system. So I contact Mutler to ask his permission to use the instrument and ask him also for the answer. So he emailed me immediately. Yeah? To the Westerners, they are so happy if you are using their tool because it will contribute to the validity and reliability of the instrument. So based on that model, we have created 4 objectives for the study. That is to investigate primary English teachers assessment literacy, to investigate secondary English teachers assessment literacy, to investigate the challenges faced by English teachers in implementing school-based assessment, and lastly, to observe the validity of school-based assessment. So this is what we call the instrument as Classroom Assessment Literacy Inventory ataupun inventory celik pentaksiran bilik darjah. Yeah, it has 35 items. 3 items were dropped because it is not suitable for our culture. And the item is multiple choice question. So other instrument that we use in the study is observation checklist. We went to the school, saya pergi ke sekolah, saya duduk di belakang bilik darjah, sekolah menengah, sekolah rendah, dan saya memerhatikan guru tahun 1 dan tingkatan 1 mengajar tahun lepas. And then we also have the interview protocol. Kemudian saya interview guru-guru berkenaan dan masa inilah mereka melepaskan perasaan geram mereka kepada saya. Ya? Tapi sebagai penyelidik, saya mendengar, ya, saya ke situ bukan untuk membantu tapi mendengar, a listener. Ya? And also writers agreement, saya ambil contoh-contoh item yang mereka buat dan saya kajilah sama ada betul dah item itu mengukur apa yang sepatutnya diukur. And later on the findings were triangulated, ya, dibanding-bandingkan. So this is the sampling. For the quantitative, we distribute the questionnaire to 200 teachers. However, only 75 responded. Yeah? And the sample is from Selangor and the Federal Territory. For the qualitative, we have 4 schools, 2 rural, which is 1 primary, 1 secondary. For the urban, 2 urban, 1 primary and 1 secondary. and 5 researchers were involved in the study. So this is the demographic information. We have 73 and most of the respondents were male. Yeah? Only 10 female. And it ranged, the educational level ranged from a bachelor degree to others. And we have teaching experience from 1 to 30 years. And level of preparation, most of them will say they are somewhat prepared. And I'm quite shocked because 27 of them said they are very prepared. Okay, but the findings doesn't tell such. So attended classroom assessment courses in undergraduate program, yes, 38, and 35 of them have not attended any assessment undergraduate program. So this is the item again, and this is a pilot. We did a pilot study. Kalau masih ingat lagi apa yang Dr. Hani Zayun katakan tadi, modern test theory, inilah dia outputnya. Ya, dan kita gunakan indeks mean square in feet. Kalau dia melebihi daripada di antara jarak 0.9 hingga 1, 0.7 hingga 1, maka dia boleh diterima baiklah, tekal ya, boleh mengukur apa yang sepatutnya diukur. Kemudian this is the item map. Ya, the item map will show, exhibit the items and also the respondent. Now for the pilot 1, ya, sebelum kita membuat apa kajian, kita perlu mengujinya di lapangan. Dan kita lihat item nombor 23 adalah item yang paling sukar. Dan tidak ada pun guru yang boleh menjawabnya. Dan item yang ke-24 adalah item yang paling mudah. Itu pilot 1 ya. Tapi ujian berkenaan agak tidak, because it is a new instrument, it is not stable. Therefore, kata Dr. Haniza yang membantu saya, kita jalankan juga sebab ini bukannya high stake. Ya? Bukan sebab dengan ujian ini guru-guru tidak akan dapat gaji. Kita hanya hendak melihat apakah yang mereka tahu. Dan kita jalankan sekali lagi analisis untuk 73 orang guru, dan inilah dapatannya. Kalau tadi item 23 menjadi item yang paling sukar, sekarang ini item yang ke-20 menjadi item yang paling sukar. Dan item 7 menjadi item yang paling mudah. Bagi prinsip ujian tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, lagi banyak calon yang mengambil, maka lagi tekallah ujian tersebut. Lagi banyak item yang kita takbir, maka lagi tekallah ujian tersebut. So this is the findings. Yeah? This is the mean and standard deviation for primary school English teachers. Yeah? For standard 1, choosing appropriate assessment method, we have, I think, 4 items, and most of them only score 2.3. The result is rather low and moderate. So this is for the primary teacher, and this is for the secondary teacher. It is also low and moderate. So we also did a t-test output. Okay, for standard 4, the differences, perbezaan yang agak ketara lah untuk standard 4, dan perbezaan yang hampir, bukan perbezaan, keputusan yang hampir sama untuk standard yang ke-2. Yeah, that is for the t-test. So findings from the observation, interview and raters agreement. Ya, ujian kuantitatif tadi tidak memberi banyak sangat maklumat mengenai pentaksiran berasaskan sekolah. Ya, tetapi daripada interview, pemerhatian dan juga apa yang saya lihat, itulah yang banyak menerangkan mengenai pentaksiran berasaskan sekolah. Dan saya rasa ada juga di antara di sini yang sudah mendengar dapatan ini. Jadi saya akronimkan dia sebagai PIES, P-I-E-S. And this is the issue and concern of school-based assessment. Cikgu mempercayai Satu instrumen hanya boleh menguji satu standard. Itu sebab mereka penat. Sebenarnya satu instrumen itu boleh menguji berbagai-bagai standard. Contohnya kalau kita masuk ke dalam makmal. Dalam makmal kita boleh melihat pelajar menjalankan eksperimen. Juga boleh melihat pelajar berkomunikasi. Juga kita boleh melihat sama ada pelajar tersebut memahami konsep fotosintesis atau tidak. Tetapi guru kita, ini yang membuatkan mereka susah hati. Sebab tiap-tiap hari mereka perlu menguji satu standard, satu instrumen. Jadi ini tidak praktikal. Ya. Kemudian peperiksaan itu adalah merupakan suatu yang sangat resmi. Big event. Ya, semua sekolah kena sunyi, tak ada siapa yang bercakap satu masa. Ya, it's very high stake. Dan ada guru lah yang di luar bandar tu marah saya. Dia cakap dengan PBS ni lah saya tak boleh mengajar. It disrupt their daily routine as a teacher. Dan mereka pun saya rasa agak takut sebab they are torn by competing demands. Ya, mereka dalam masa yang sama nak mengajar. Ya, sebagai guru ni kita baik hati, kita suka menolong. Dan dalam masa yang sama kita kena gagalkan dia kalau dia tidak dapat menguasai standard yang kita ajar. Dan inilah saya rasa konflik dalaman yang berlaku kepada guru. Dan banyak pihak-pihak lain yang mengejar mereka untuk mereka meluluskan murid-murid mereka. Kemudian tangible product. Ibu bapa suka A, B atau C sebab dia mudah difahami. Saya pun ya, saya suka A, B, C atau D, E. Senang saya fahami. Teacher felt that they are accountable to parents and principal. Itu yang mereka katakan. Report cards are dependable grades that tells the quality of education. Bagi report card ada A, B, C, D, dah cukup menceritakan semua. Kemudian one exam at the end of the year or term is the measure of excellence. Cukuplah. Satu peperiksaan pertengahan penggal pertama, kemudian di hujung tahun. And instruction should be separated from assessment because assessment is a serious task. Inilah dapatan yang berulang-ulang apabila saya menginterview guru, mereka mengatakannya secara berulang-ulang, ya, maka itulah dianya masalahnya tersebut. Dan mereka juga percaya, ya, satu instrumen yang digunakan itulah yang ada keesahan dan keboleh percayaan. Fairness is determined by the same task or instrument. Kalau guna berbagai-bagai jenis instrumen, maka dia tidak ada keesahan. Tapi berdasarkan apa yang Profesor Jim katakan tadi, lagi banyak standard yang kita letakkan, lagi banyak instrumen yang kita gunakan, maka lagi banyaklah ralat yang kita akan perkenalkan dalam skor-skor ujian. Jadi macam mana kita hendak mengurangkan masalah ini? Masalah ini tak boleh kurang, tak boleh dihapuskan, ya. Itu realiti, tapi ia boleh dikurangkan dengan training lah, dengan memberi latihan yang mantap dan kukuh kepada guru. However, not to worry, ya. Malaysia is not the only country that face this problem. There are other studies conducted by Campbell, Murphy and Hall, Brookhart, Stiggins, which also shows that teacher has low to moderate level of assessment literacy. So, with that note, I think I should end this session. We have another speaker, Professor Osman Leba, and I think I like this cartoon. It says here, I'm happy this year's tests are more precise. Yeah, sangat tepat. My son's math score is 342.736. So the counselor is there to explain. That's one more number beyond the decimal point than last year. Jadi ibu bapa masih suka kepada markah. Dan saya rasa saya pun masih suka pada markah. Sebab kajian ada menunjukkan jikalau kita letakkan markah dan kita letakkan A, B, C atau D, kita akan lebih faham. Ya? With that, I end this sharing of finding from the research that we did last year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Zainuria, for sharing the info with us. I will now open to all for questions and answer session, or if there's any to ask to Dr. Zainuria.
Saya sebelum ni saya dah bincang untuk ketua sektor saya, dia kata kalau ada persoalan mengenai 60-40, 100%, ada ke tidak ada PMR tahun depan, kita akan adakan sesi yang lain malam karang. Ya. Sebab apa tu bukan isu ya, maklumat muktamad masih lagi dalam perbincangan. Jadi saya tak boleh memberitahu sebelum pengarah mengendorse-nya.
Thank you once again, Dr. Zainuria, for your presentation, and would you kindly remain on stage for a while? Well, I will now call upon.
I have one question.
Oh, sorry.
Not one question, one opinion. First of all, congratulations, Dr. Zainuria, for very important and significant findings from your research. And it seems that from the first data, the quantitative data show that our teachers, about 35%, not mistaken, tell that they are ready, very ready to implement this school-based assessment. On the other part, which is the data after the second data, shows that about only 2 point, more, not that high on their confidence level on implementing this school-based assessment. So my question is, what are the intervention for the teacher? Because from our discussion, we talk about high order thinkings and the creativity and critical thinking, or maybe probably in order to handle or to implement the SBA, school-based assessment, we need more creative thinking, and those competence have to be developed among our teachers, not only for the English, for the language, but from some other subjects as well. Okay, so my concern is what are the intervention for our teachers? Okay, because it shows that the literacy on assessment is low to moderate. Okay. Another concern is on the previous speaker. I have a concern on the data that he presented before, Dr. Zainuria. I am part of the team developing the psychometric testing on IMK and ITP. Yeah? And if I'm not mistaken, when we developed those instruments, the purpose of having those instruments is to guide our students to identify their strengths and weaknesses. And those are only the first level, because we have to continue to see the consistency of the personality or the inclination to a certain area. And another thing that we also agree upon is for the data that we have the sulit and terhad, which means that as a counselor, we are minded by an ethics for the counselor's ethic. But when the data present this afternoon show that all the names and all the code's personality, which is to me is very unethical due to the psychological testing. Okay, we have already discussed about this in the previous when we agree upon to have this instrument. And if let's say from all the schools or all the teachers who in the future, they said, since we are going to open this, expose the data to the public among the education officers, and I would remind that those are not supposed to be disclosed here, and we have to remind the Sekolah Harian. I'm very sorry, I'm not sure who are the person who are really take charge on this. This matter has to be very clearly and seriously take into consideration. It's confidential because it's on the counselor's ethic image. Thank you for that.
Soalan pertama ya, low level of assessment literacy of teachers. Saya rasa kita kena terus-menerus melatih guru untuk menjadi pentaksir yang baiklah di dalam bilik darjah. Namun ia memerlukan kesabaran, masa dan keuangan. Sebagai pakar dalam pentaksiran, saya rasa kita perlukan satu kolaborasi dengan IPG, ya, dan juga in-service teacher, BPG, untuk menghasilkan suatu dokumentasi, ya, mengenai pentaksiran. Saya rasa semua bahagian ada menjalankan usaha-usaha ke arah itu. Ya, saya tahu IPG ada, ya, dan juga universiti, ya, IPT juga ada ke Prof Osman, memperkasakan school based assessment, ya, untuk meningkatkan kefahaman guru dalam pentaksiran bilik darjah. Yang kedua, isu IMK. Saya sebenarnya sudah pun bermesyuarat, ya, Krishna dengan IBN tadi, BPSH, Encik Rahim Osman, ya, ada sini BPSH, bahagian kaunseling atau unit kaunseling, ya, Encik Saiful. Saya sudah mengutarakan perkara ini. Saya kata semasa lembaga periksaan dengan kaunselor menatarkan maklumat tersebut adalah sulit. Yang tak sulitnya IMK, minat kerjaya, ya, tapi personality itu agak sensitif lah, terutama ibu bapa yang dapat tahu anaknya seorang yang agresif ataupun perasaan rendah diri yang sangat tinggi, ya. Namun perbincangan masih perlu dilakukan, ya. Sistem tadi, platform tadi masih dalam percubaan, ya, masih dalam percubaan, belum di-endorse lagi oleh pihak pengurusan tertinggi di KPM. Okay, saya pun sebenarnya concern sebab saya lah tokenya di lembaga, dan kalau nak ibu bapa ada berapa? 500,000 mereka akan menyamanlah saya yang 500,000. Ya.
Okay, thank you very much Dr. Zainuria for your explanation, and I will